They are defunded the police. I just want to say that. Mayor Pazicki is defunded the police. It wasn't Kobe J. Owens. Here's the thing. Fight me all you want. You shouldn't get another single penny out of the city.
No,
ever.
And now you're going to lock me out because you made a mistake?
Ever.
You're going to lock me out because you made a mistake.
I'm the mayor and you're making a political favors.
Make that rule against me.
They do
and y'all won't have any projects.
But they do.
Y'all want to do something? Start calling your city council representatives and tell them to vote heck no to the tax increase and the water increase.
We're going to explain. They dusted. There was black dust everywhere over there. They collected fingerprints and everything. So it is a difference there. And guess what? They weren't able to catch the person there. And I still ain't get my PlayStation back.
But think about it. With the crime to the level that it is, how in the world can you do that?
You got the highest murder rate. You got the highest number of murders in the history of the city, but you eliminate police positions.
Unacceptable. In the city
and obviously from the arrest we just talked about, they run around through West End of the city selling drugs like it's popcorn, and you're going to eliminate police positions.
I mean.
This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
J Street.
And welcome to The Source. Today I come to you angry, upset, concerned. Brothers, I went away for 1 week. I come back and I'm just seeing buffoonery. From another shooting in the city, not this week, but last week, to what really is troubling me today is this ex-Wilmington police officer who have been rearrested, and even how it was handled on the first arrest. Now, before I go too far, could one of you intelligent brothers share with me the process of removing an officer when they are discharged?
I really wish we could. But because of how internal investigations go and how LEA Board has been set up, which is the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, we don't actually know the proper practices that should be taken when removing an officer. But one thing that I think is common knowledge is their gun should be taken away from them and their badge should be taken away from them.
Oh, well, according to what was reported in the by the person who's the spokesperson for the city of Wilmington's police department, that's what they said too. And when they reported out when this person was, this Cooper cop was removed, according to them, they had everything. But according to court documents, a baton, a Wilmington police badge was still on his possession when they stopped him and found drugs on him.
Okay, but let's back up.
Okay.
I want to make sure our viewing audience understands that we're talking about a Wilmington police officer, former, as the public press likes to print, a former Wilmington police officer who was arrested for a situation with a teenage girl and subsequently rearrested for possession of drugs when he was apprehended in the West Center City area of the city. I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And he was arrested 8 days later. Yeah, he was rearrested 8 days later.
It's like I was building a sermon, because you're absolutely right. We do need to let people know what we're talking about. But I was going to get to the fact that you're jumping to the 8 days after this, but even in the article that I read, he didn't go to jail. He was let out based on his own incognizance. But why in the world? I want to start with dealing with personnel. Why in the world did this man still have a city baton his identification. Why? That's my first question. Then we'll get to the egregiousness of his behavior.
Well, I can't answer the question because I don't know what the police do, what they don't do, other than the ongoing outrageous misconduct that we have become aware of over the last 4 to 5 years.
You want to know why J Street often say, if this was a black mayor, it would have been broadcast all over the place for the incompetency that is found in city government. This is overt incompetency that we are experiencing. How in the world what gave him the idea? He lied to the police and said, I'm coming straight from a probation hearing. He stops, there's a transaction goes on, police have all this recorded, and when they found the baton and the loaded gun,
what else they find?
I saw, to my understanding, it was the baton. The person who he was driving with had a loaded gun. Oh, and some what you call that pill?
Oxycodone.
Thank you. I don't like to say the word. And drugs on him.
And there was a transaction in West Center City.
Yeah, and there was a transaction. That's what caused the stop.
Okay. Let me weigh in here. Because I don't think it's happenstance that you're looking for drugs and you end up in West Center City. And the fact of the matter is, I haven't done a scientific study, but I read the reports, I read what's in the press. If you look at it closely enough, there's more shootings in the city of Wilmington, in West Center City, in proximity to the Hicks Anderson Center than anywhere else. My point being here, the person obviously wanted some drugs, went to West Center City to get them. The police know full well what's going on down there. They're well aware of the shootings. The mayor declared war on West Center City in his first term. Why does this continue? If the police, a known drug area, where I want drugs, I'm gonna go down to West Center City, but yet we continue to suffer irreparable harm in that community because of the ongoing shooting. You declared war on it, apparently you lost the war, or you don't care.
Yeah.
You finish letting West Center City go to hell in a handbasket, and then you do what Hicks Anderson predicted in the 70s. You begin the process of extending downtown, and you run all the folks who historically and traditionally lived in West Center City, you run them out of there. And just like Hicks said, when they built the daycare center, when they built the Hicks Anderson Center, it wasn't intended for us. It's intended to extend downtown. Handwriting's all over the wall. The question is, what are we, as so-called leaders, going to do about it?
Well, that's being addressed in many ways right now, even with the revamping of the NAACP. But I don't even want to leave where you are, because obviously it is a hidden hand agenda for that community to continue to decline. The police officer knew where to go to do the exchange because it's not cared for. It's very evident for that.
But here again, I told you, I bet you before you took off last week, I bet you wouldn't take the bet, that out of the 3 officers who've been arrested, only one's going to jail. It's not happenstance. When's the last time you saw somebody get locked up for drugs in West Center City?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, they can find this police officer. Now, he's going where he needs to go. I don't have a problem with that. But are they following the other 2 officers who've been arrested in the same way that they followed this officer? It's a good, and I still want to make that.
Not.
I still want to make that bet. Okay, out of the 3 officers that have been arrested, only one's gonna go to jail. I'll give you 2 to 1. Anybody? Any takers?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
We in the church today.
Yeah, well, you can blame
Maybe
it on
if we
church.
go down Delaware Park.
No.
But no, this, the concerning thing to me, right, is you don't make these connections in 8 days. So he had to have these connections well before losing his quote unquote badge in position with the Wilmington Police Department just 8 days prior. So if this is going on with members of the police department,
That's what's concerning me.
this is again, and I probably sound crazy at this point, but this is again why we're calling for more civilian oversight over the police department, because Chief Tracy's police department is out of control. This is again. We keep hearing stories coming out about his leadership under his leadership, this department having all type of things like this. So I can guarantee you, this isn't new. This wasn't his first time doing an interaction like this. And I guarantee you there's probably others who are also comfortable with what's going on over there. But because he embarrassed the department, they arrested him.
Unacceptable.
But the fact of the matter is that I've been in this town for 69 years, and I've been following police activity ever since I was in high school, when we ran into difficulties and the elders showed us how to lodge complaints. In all this time, I have never seen or heard of this kind of ongoing impropriety within the police department.
Can I ask this question? Because I had an opportunity to have a couple conversations with Chief Tracy, okay? I personally think he's a good guy, okay? It doesn't mean a person is not incompetent because they're a good guy. I personally think he's a good guy. Every conversation I've had with him have been good. He seemed like he knew what he's doing. Do you think that maybe the thing we've been fighting about, Leobor, do you think that is creating some of the problem of being able to manage police department? I got to ask that question because I want to be fair.
No.
And why do you say no?
No, because here's the thing. Even though we're raising the question of it, they're still very much protected. And they know they're going to stay protected. They could care less. The rank and file could care less how much noise we make about Leobor changes. But what's going on under there, the only thing that has changed from 10 years ago was the availability of social media on our phones, right? So now we can see videos like that. I can send a video to anyone in the city within seconds, and they can see what's happening. Before that, it was hearsay. You had to meet up with the right person to see the video if they had it on their home computer, stuff like that. So all this has changed, right? We're in the 21st century, right? We're in 2022. Also, people are seeing what is continuing to happen to individuals. They're saying, no, those, being able to say, oh, that's one off. Like maybe 10 years ago, right? When you saw Trayvon Martin killed, then a few years later you saw Michael Brown killed. And in most people's minds, oh, well, this hasn't happened for 3 years. This only happens every few years. We're now in the city of Wilmington, you're seeing something almost monthly happening with the department, which is raising a lot of questions for individuals who are civilians, who are citizens, not in the police department, saying, wait, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're both right, and I'm just going to weigh in, weigh out. When it's to the point where you've got 4 arrested police officers in a relatively short period of time, the police department is raging out of control, to the extent that officers feel that they can go run, make somebody have sex in the car with them, that they can go run and go break in somebody's house and beat them up. They can beat somebody's head against the wall and in the instant matter sexually harass a teenager and then turn around and go buy some drugs. All those things, in my opinion, point to leadership. But the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights is still a major problem, and they all know full well the consequences are going to be insignificant because of the protections that the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights provides them. So I think, in response to your discussion, is both.
Okay.
And none of which are helpful to the citizens, residents of the city of Wilmington.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I've raised it, because I'm always want to make sure we get to the root of the issue. And I still want to talk about what would be in his mind, talking about Cooper, to go straight to the level he did, which I don't think it started after he got fired.
But see, the fact of the matter is, if The termination was on February 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
And the second arrest for drugs is in late March. Well,
March 25th.
if you had a drug problem and you had a problem getting high, it didn't just happen over the last 30 days.
Absolutely. And but again, what else do we have going on in the police department that is being hid because of Leopold, or that's happening, and that's why I can't just
But if I, as a police officer, beat the crap out of somebody, and another officer reports it, or as Kobe said, it's reported via video, before you, as the police chief, can ask me anything, I have to have time to have my lawyer present. And you can't talk to me. You can't make me file a report until that happens. And good lawyer, while I'm busy, I'm this, I'm that. In the Moses case, it was over 2 weeks before one of the officers was ever interviewed. And by that time, everybody had a chance to get their stories together.
Which speaks again to Leopold.
Right.
And I think for all of you who are voters, you have to really stop asking what is Leopold. It is their protection. It is what covers them. It's called hermetically sealed. It hermetically seals them, where it can't be touched.
But if somebody working for you in your daycare center is accused of doing something to a child, do you have to wait 2 weeks to talk to them?
No. First of all, no. The accusation removes them. We then do our investigation. But no,
and child care licensing, do they take 2 weeks, or are they here that day or the next day?
That's why I was concerned about this part.
That's the fundamental unfairness.
But that's what made me ask this question, because I read in the article that the Department of Corrections said that he was not housed in any of their facilities. Instead, he went straight to pretrial community supervision. How could that be?
He's a police officer. He has to be protected.
Predator.
You can't put a police officer in jail. You know what would happen to that police officer
if you put him
when they find out he's a police officer?
Excuse me to all of my viewers who know me as a pastor, but if you put him in jail and something happened to him, the next one will think. The next one will think. Well, the next one will think about it.
The pastor said that, not me.
Well, and I'll say it again and ask for permission for your grace, your mercy. But I don't play with children. Now, I will, my seniors and children, you don't play with them.
Right.
And when he violated
why
a
you
child.
mess with me all the time?
I love you. when you violate a child, he should have been put in prison, and then it would show all the rest of them, because he's not the only one. He got caught. I said that. It was funny because when I went to the prison to do a speech one time, I shared with them the difference between the two, me and them, is that, you may have gotten caught. There was things I did wrong too. But in this case, this brother, he should pre-trial, and then a few days later, he's now found again doing something worse. He's riding around in his car. He's not driving. He's in the passenger seat. But the person who's driving him has a gun. And I'm still trying to get answers on whether or not that person was licensed to carry. Because I'm told he wasn't.
If he was licensed to carry, they wouldn't have locked him up for carrying a loaded gun.
Nobody will give me an answer, though. But you're absolutely correct. This is ridiculous. This is, can I say preposterous? This is just unbelievable. And this is what is protecting us.
Welcome to Murder Town, USA.
Well, it's not Murder Town, USA, because we don't have a black mayor.
Oh.
We have to have a black mayor for it to be Murder Town, USA. We have to have a black mayor to have incompetence in government. Okay. We have to have a black mayor in order for it to be looked upon as something wrong. This is just unbelievable, and the silence of the administration is unbelievable, and it angers me. And I am not a black angry man. I love people. But this angers me because it's just unfair. It's unfair. The whole system is unfair. I'm going to move a little bit further. Can I just go to the next one? Y'all want to stay on there for a second?
No, we can
rumble, young man, rumble.
Well, I ain't trying to rumble, but I'm just a little perturbed today. What about this impropriety of giving federal funds inappropriately? Let's keep it simple. What's up with this? I saw it says they did not give it to low-income people for the housing that was where the money went. They lack what they called an adequate process. They failed to follow federal requirements. They failed to follow their own requirements. And then some joker, inappropriate, some brother named Bob Ware. Bob Ware, who is that?
He is the director of the city's real estate and housing.
Oh, he's in administration too?
Yes.
Help me, Jesus. He says these words. Listen to me, those of you who are watching us. These are his words. It was in the paper. He quoted this. None of the findings or concerns were connected to any financial malfeasance or missing money. Hey, I know I only went to a HBCU. I know I didn't go to the big Yale and Harvard, but what they taught me at the little university was that malfeasance is wrongdoing on the part of the public officials. It was malfeasance.
It's only $446,000 designated for low-income housing, for low-income residents.
He was very clear to the city council that no missing money. Where is the $446,000?
But here's the harsh reality. They put a legal notice out at the beginning of the month. Somebody found it. I raised it at Newcastle County Council meeting when I found out that the city had given the county $1 million for low income, for affordable housing, or for emergency housing. But I said I didn't want us to, as the government, to be complicit in the city's mischief. And the show, I don't think it's happenstance. We raised it once, we raised it twice here. And I said, if Dennis had been the mayor, been a front page scandal. Yeah. And I don't think it's happenstance that 2 weeks later, it's on the front page. Yeah. Well, I don't know where it is because I haven't seen the paper. Yeah. But all of a sudden now we have an article. The problem for the city here is the News Journal has touched it. And I don't think they're going to just stop. And when they start researching and doing emails and doing text messages and FOIA and stuff, I think there's going to end up being a federal investigation.
There has to. No, I'm going to come right to you. You know, that's the issue.
I will call me up.
The black people live in the city of Wilmington.
Yes.
We need help. I'm dealing with people. We're exhausting all of our benevolence funds, trying to help people have housing, and you're telling me that you believe there has to be a federal investigation, because who got this money? Where is this money? And their proposal is just take it out of next year's funds.
So you balance.
But it's not only that. It's not only that. See, you're talking about the 46,000. Let's talk about the whole thing that's missing that we have to pay back, right? So in an investigation done by HUD, their Philly office, they found that there was 19 issues with 3 federally funded projects, right? That got federal funded. Public dollars, our dollars, went into this, totaling, and then they updated, the review standards and, to satisfy the findings and everything, and still found that there was 12 outstanding issues that total $446,120, right? That the city of Wilmington must pay back. Now, it had been raised by a council person. Now that it had been brought to light and everything, why aren't we asking the entities to pay it back?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They got the money.
But if not, if we can't do that, then why haven't we seen letters of resignation of those who was the stewards?
But the fact of the matter is,
or going to jail.
In my opinion, if Dennis was the mayor and his housing director, this happened under his housing director, there would be public demand for the termination or resignation of his housing director, and people would have been talking about he needs to resign. But a scandal of this type, this mayor is able to walk away from. It's just,
he's not going to walk away from it.
Fundamentally wrong.
I'm sorry.
And it points to the problems that we have throughout this great plantation state.
Who is the person who handles the administration? Is it the chief of staff or is it the deputy chief of staff? I know who runs the city for real, but who handles this? Because I kind of reasoned with the mayor and I said, listen, I think you're a good guy. I think the people around you is what's causing your problem. Who said we're going to just take it from next year's fund? Fire the person. Who permitted a group, and I don't care, it just hit my head. If I was in church, I would say an email from God. I don't care who got any of the money. If the money was given inappropriately, it has to come back. Simple. I don't care if you're a favorite child of this city. I don't care if you're a person who helps politically get things done. The people in this city deserves, especially those who live in low economic status communities, we fight day in and day out for them to be able to have affordable housing, to be able to survive every day, and for people's pockets to be enriched and fattened, and then now we figure it out, and you say just take it out of next year so you can hurt the people even more. It's called compound oppression.
But the fact of the matter is, if I'm the person who applied, and you approved my application, you gave me the money.
I hear you.
Okay, then go ahead and tell me to take it back, and I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to win.
You have a point there. However, whoever gave it to them then, put the ownership there.
Well, whoever is the overall, the ultimate authority within that division, okay, you want to do this, you eliminate his or her position, and that's how you pay it back.
You're right. And look, Amanda Fries, you're right there at the News Journal. I know y'all watch us too. I think you need to now call for resignations. For the people at the News Journal who cover and allow certain people to help you keep stories from being out of control, it's time to let those go. Because the purpose for the source is to make sure we're sharing with the community, those who are watching us, whether it be by Facebook, whether it be by YouTube, or whether it be on Channel 28. It's our job. Because we're representing the poor, brown, and black people, and this is outright fraud. This is outright discrimination.
But this is an investigative report, and I would just encourage the reporter to finish it. Start forwarding emails and start forwarding text messages as it relates to this, and I think you'll find some things that you haven't been able to write about
But
yet.
let's also talk about the projects, right? So, one project is 525 Vandover Avenue that received $195,000 of public dollars.
Almost half of the money.
Right.
Go ahead.
Now, the original was supposed to be 4 single-family homes, right? It was amended and changed, reduced to 1 home. But in that amendment, even though they reduced it by 3 houses, they increased the funding, right? That's the first project.
No, you can't talk too fast with me. I don't care if we don't have no more time today.
Oh, we have time.
Let's go back to the first project.
Yes.
4 houses. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Okay, 4.
Yes.
We're going to give you $100,000 and some thousand. You're going to revamp it. You're going to give it to the low-income folks, and they're going to have more housing. Now, it's been reduced to 1 house, and we give you more money?
Yes.
Incompetency. Do you understand it?
It's a bigger house.
No, it's not.
Like
You can be as facetious as you want to be on this show today, Brother Street. But that is egregious. That is wrong. That is your words. That is fundamentally wrong. When we got people who comes asking for money for help to be able to survive just day by day.
Well,
and they taught in the report, it said that the low-income folks didn't even get some of these projects.
They didn't have certification of the fact that the people who brought the houses were in fact low income.
How do you not have that? Incompetency. How do you not have that? Do you know, that's why I didn't want to deal with no grant money. That's why I don't have any. That's why I can talk like I want to talk. Because when folks want to try to get you and shut you up, they can look and see, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. But if you get a grant, you have to have guidelines. If you fail to follow the guidelines, then you have to pay the money back or go to jail.
But it's even bigger than everything we talked about.
I'm coming back.
Because the city, ever since President Johnson's war on poverty, has received federal funds for housing, millions and millions of dollars. You put the entire HUD grant in potential jeopardy when you have this kind of non-compliance. That's why this ain't funny.
And that's why we need to handle it. Because guess who's going to get hurt? Guess who's going to get hurt? If the feds come in and go back through, or go with a real cleaning, it's going to hurt the poor black and brown people. Because we need to help. Because we've been set back so far. And that's the community that I'm always fighting for.
Well, and we've got low-income people from all walks of life and all races within our city, and if we have a responsibility to take care of those who have the least, and that's who you're putting in jeopardy.
As a matter of fact, those of you who follow God's word, what he just said is the most authentic, real reality. We have to take care of those who are less fortunate than we are. And for this to be going on, the first thing he said was the first project got almost half the grant. And then they didn't do a quarter of the work.
Oh, it gets better.
And they get more money. Who is this person?
It gets
Miss
better.
Fries, you need to find out and publish it. Give me something else.
It gets better. So the next one is another project that they did. It totaled $186,000 and some odd change. But the project was for 3 houses to be built and constructed. No amendments were made to it, which, unlike the other one, they did let them know that they were going to be changing the plans and ask for more money. No plans were made, right? No amendments made to reflect any changes. They only built 2 houses. And they've completely forgot about the third.
And who got the 2 houses?
That I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, according to the report, that none of the money that was spent was given to low-income people, according to the report.
And
there's no certification that whoever purchased the house was low income.
But that's easy to get. That's easy to get, Street. If I wanted to know whether or not you were low income, I ain't got to ask you too many questions. I know how to get your information. Well, I may not know. I'm not the federal government. But we can get your information to see. And I think this is just piss poor management and unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. And then the last project was only for professional services, totaling $16,418.45, which, it really doesn't state what was done wrong there, but it was for professional services for rehabilitation for a single-family home. So those are the 3
single-family homes. All these row homes we got. Why is everything single-family homes? And what section of the city was these things built at?
These were all over the east side.
On the east side. On the east side. Oh, that brings some light to the picture, a little bit. Unacceptable. Street, I don't care, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. I don't care whether they get sued or not. Matter of fact, it could bring more attention to the city. They need to get the money back.
You approved my application. I did the work. I'm not giving you anything.
In some cases,
back.
you didn't do the work.
If in fact you think you're that good, come get it.
Yeah, well, I hear that.
Talk to my lawyer.
I hear that, but the thing I liked about Donald Trump is that I'll fight you even though I'm wrong. And you know what? Fundamental fairness has not ever been on our side. And I'm saying to you right now that the mere fact that this money was not given to the appropriate people, the city needs to make sure that it confesses it's wrong. And when it confesses it's wrong, then it needs to make it right.
And when you come after me for the money that you approve for me to have, I'm gonna fight you till you know what freezes over, and then I'll meet you on the ice.
But let me tell you another
guess what? Guess what? Here's the thing. Fight me all you want. You shouldn't get another single penny out of the city. Ever.
And now you're going to lock me out because you made a mistake?
Ever.
You're going to lock me out because you made a mistake.
I'm the mayor and you're making political favors.
Make that rule against me.
They do
and y'all won't have any projects.
But they do it for people who didn't support the mayor.
That's the problem we're getting to. We're getting there. Did you hear what he just said? Because you say you can't hear too well. Did you hear what he just
I
said?
didn't say this. I said.
Okay. All right. And what he said is the truth. And certain people can get whatever they want. But I don't care. I'm going to keep saying this, and we're going to go to a break so we can come back to some more news. But I don't care what anyone has to say. If you did not deliver on what you said, you can find their reasons to be able to pull your money back and say, give me my money back. You said 4, you came back and got an amendment, and we still don't see the evidence because we need to know about whether or not it went to low-income people. What is the follow-up? That's all a part of administration. Mm-hmm. That's all and there have been no resignations, but yet they're asking for an increase in water. A 7% increase
in property.
And then they're laying people off. Come on, street. With this type of mismanagement,
you open the door, okay? All I can tell you is that if I'm on city council,
yeah,
I'm making a movement to find 7 votes to deny the mayor's tax increase, to deny the water increase. It's outrageous in this financial climate. Rents are sky high. You're going to automatically make mortgages and rents higher. In this financial climate, we're at $4 a gallon for gas, and we've already had rent increases with the largest inflation in the last 40 years. We're going to see how strong or weak this city council is. Because, and y'all want to do something? Start calling your city council representatives and tell them to vote heck no to the tax increase and the water increase.
We're going to expose that. We're going to make sure you know that. But I've been told by a former city council person that this water thing is always going to be on the table. They throw it up, they do it, and then they don't get all they want. And then they come back again and do it again after elections are over. But we're going to track this one. Because at the end of the day, if you vote for a tax increase with the level of incompetence, hear this carefully, with the level of incompetence that's going on in the administration, I wouldn't even vote for the mayor's budget.
Now,
I would just make it declare war on his budget.
Okay, but here again, if you had a black mayor in office and he was eliminating 6 or 7 police positions, they'd be outside screaming.
With crime to the level that it is?
They are defunded the police. I just want to say that. Mayor Pazicki has defunded the police. It wasn't Kobe J. Owens.
But think about it. With the crime to the level that it is, how in the world can you do that?
You got the highest murder rate. You got the highest number of murders in the history of the city, but you eliminate police positions.
Unacceptable. In the city
and obviously from the arrest we just talked about, they run around through West End City selling drugs like it's popcorn, and you're going to eliminate police positions.
I mean, they even have some of their cops out there selling drugs.
Oh,
as
Jesus.
you see with the former officer, like the News Journal and like the police department likes to let you know that he's a former officer now. Officer was doing. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, right? And you touched on it a little bit, that they are taking away positions from the police department. We have high violence rates here. It's time, if they want to do that, it's time not just take that money away and put it into other departments. Let's put it into a department that is focused in on violence prevention. Let's create an office how other states do it, not under the police department, but create a new department, and their sole focus is community engagement and bringing down our rates of gun violence here in the city of Wilmington, and let's fully fund it. Now, you have all this ARPA money that you want to put in other places. Let's fund a department like this.
Okay, I play hard, but I play fair. Mm-hmm. There's $8 million proposed in the city budget to reduce crime. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, and I think city council should flush that out and see what it is, but the fact that this mayor
City council already gave all power over to the mayor.
Is willing and has sense enough to spend $8 million to reduce crime, I'm perfectly fine
but where's
with that.
The plan?
And I commend
Wait
you
a minute.
for that. I just want to know what the plan is.
Well, it's probably going to have the same oversight that the housing money has.
Mr. Street, Councilman Street, calm down, because guess what? Don't tell me you commend this mayor for putting $8 million into to prevent crime and you ain't got no plan. It's going to be just like the housing plan.
If that's what the designation is, and it's to reduce crime, I'm all for it. I just want to know what it is.
Before you vote for it.
Correct.
Because we got
But
440.
Kobe just said it's already a done deal.
Well, we know it was a. Well,
But
I want to know who voted for it, though.
Here's the thing, right?
I want to know that.
We were supposed to get 8 houses,
Mm-hmm.
right, under federal money coming in. He put the money into a low-cost, affordable housing. We were supposed to get 8. We got 4. So if that's how he's going to handle the violence prevention, then we in trouble.
We give credit for being a great builder, but management, it's egregious. EGREGIOUS, egregious. And it's not fair. It's just not fair. It's not fair that we, who are a part of the low economic community, have to go through constantly being pounded with incompetency after incompetency. However, you got people like City Council Loretta Walsh, who you won't hear nothing from her as long as you have this type of leadership in City Hall. This type of leadership with the police being as rampant as they are, but as soon as an African American person is in leadership, you hear her name in the paper every other day. This is the type of racism and misrepresentation. We'll be right back. And we're back. Real quick, before we go on to this whole lawyers' pushback on the proposed changes to the lower scores needed for the bar in Delaware, it was something dealing with, I had made some comments about Loretta Walsh and how she needs to support or bring up some comments, some controversial things, but you saw an article.
Yeah, so in 2015, she went against the chief of police who wanted to bring on additional staff, administrative, and IT to do data-driven community violence reduction work, and she went against it. She said we did not need to put any additional money into that, right? And then also in the FY 17, which is the last budget under the Williams administration, they actually denied the mayor his first go-around at the operating budget in a vote 6-7, led by her, because they did not believe that the tax increases would be beneficial for the worker bees. So, but now, under the Pizicki administration, I'm very interested to see where her vote's going to be at.
Don't be interested. I can tell you right now. But now we can bet. We can bet if you want to bet. But let's go to that. She doesn't want to see the data. Now we see the data at several years, almost 7 years later, of what's going on. And she brought that up maybe because her community doesn't have any issues. Right.
And, and she's quoted in saying that the council members who are supportive of this is allowing their pet projects to fuel their votes on this budget.
Wow.
Well, I agree with her to a certain extent, because
you probably one of them voters.
It's not rocket science. I've sat here on the show before and I've named you the places. I just talked about West Center City. I just talked about the park over here in Southbridge next to the police station. We know what transpired in West Center City. We know what transpires in Riverside. And this whole data-driven mess is just, as I have said publicly, about the county's so-called TAPS program, and I have said publicly at council meeting, TAPS done tapped out. You can't predict where the next crime is going to be based on whatever data you have. And I set Rosegate as an example. Rosegate's a problem. Well, if you look at the shootings and the shooters, none of them are from Rosegate. So what areas of the city have issues and problems. Get up off your behind, get out the cars and lock somebody up. You know what goes on in West Center City all the time. Based on the conversation we just had, you know full well that at least the police officer knew where he wanted to go to get whatever he got. So why don't you go down there? Now the mayor has done a good job. 2 liquor stores in the area were part of the problem. Closed both of them, tore one of them down, that's fine. But them officers need to get up off their behinds, get out there and break all that foolishness up.
But it's whoever was just calling you was probably trying to tell you, Street, this time you're wrong. Because at the end of the day, listen, Listen, the reason why we can't advance is that we don't have the data. We could prove racism for real had they approved that part of the chief of police's budget, because we would be able to look at the data and say, listen, we have a lot, like you said, right now they're saying there's not a lot of shooting where you're saying there's a lot of shooting. You may have a sporadic piece here, a sporadic piece there, a wave here and a wave there.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the shootings. They're
But
running up and down the street, selling drugs like it's popcorn. You know good and well somebody's going to get angry, somebody's going to get upset, somebody's going to get popped.
Right, but we need the data to be able to prove why we got to have more cops. We need the data to be able to prove why we have to have more resources in certain areas.
Oh, whoa. I'm not even saying more cops. I'm saying when you have data-driven solutions, right? So you look at our force, we have 315 officers, right? But there's more per capita in the downtown riverfront area and in the highlands over in that area, 40 acres area, than there is in areas that are truly seeing high violence. Now, if you look at the data and you see the correlation there, you're able to say, look, if we're able to reassign 2 officers from the riverfront, right, because they have 6 squad cars that drive around there all the time, and we assign one of them to, let's say, over 7th Street, well, maybe we'll start to see a reduction in crime. Maybe we'll see people want to move away from that area and not sell drugs over there. Or maybe if there is a shooting over that way, we have a higher chance of catching the shooter, because right now, 98% of all murderers go free in the city of Wilmington. And that's the issue. That's why we need the data there. Now, here's another thing. Even with petty crime, it's very bad follow-up here in the city of Wilmington. Now, I will say one thing. A few years ago, my house was broken into, and they pushed in my air conditioner, which means they used their hands. I could see the fingerprints on the air conditioner. You know what the police told me? Oh, you can't get good prints off of metal that's cold. You can't go. Now, when the same people, because we ended up hearing who it was, the same people broke into my neighbor's house a few doors down that are white. They had the police there investigating that for almost 4 hours. They fingerprinted the entire house. Wherever anything was out of place, they dusted. There was black dust everywhere over there. They collected fingerprints and everything. So it is a difference there. And guess what? They were able to catch the person there.
And we're back. Well, favorite time of the show. Kobe, tell us what you got for us.
Yeah, so first off, I want to start out, we are 6 weeks away from the school board elections. Anyone who knows me knows how important this is to me, because this is going to determine, they have a huge impact on our students' lives, the curriculum in the school, who's being hired as superintendents, and overall operations. So if you truly care about your student, your child, or even if you don't have a child, make sure you vote in the upcoming election.
Are we going to bring any of the candidates on?
We can.
I would love to.
Okay.
We can. I could
I would
definitely
love
open
to.
it up.
Let's see if we can find one. Give them a couple minutes at the end of our show for the next couple of weeks.
That sounds good to me. I'll definitely reach out, but make sure you are paying attention, seeing what district you're in and who's running in your district. Now, some are unopposed.
Okay.
Next, I want to talk about a quick bill. It's called the Monuments Bill, right?
Okay.
It's been introduced on the federal level, but it has been introduced here in the state of Delaware, and what it's going to do is address a few of the issues when it comes to black maternal health. So opening up Medicaid for doula services, for individuals who are in the prison system who are pregnant, making sure that they are not chained up when they're in their second or third trimester or 13 weeks postpartum. So it's just addressing some of the things like that. Fully handcuffed and everything like that in transportation or during labor.
They do that now?
In some parts, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
It went right by me because Are you serious?
Yeah. So this bill looks to address this. Now, when the babies, when the baby's actually coming, they're uncuffed. But leading up to that, they want to make sure that there's no health concerns and that, the risk of falling and stuff like that. It also addresses doing full body searches and stuff like that. So it's 7 bills altogether to create the Monuments Bill, which, play on words, Mom Bill. But that's what it looks to do here in the first state. And hopefully that will be moving pretty quick.
Now, because you just made me mad all over again. All that, that whole rule and regulation you just talked about ain't nothing but a plantation state mentality.
Yeah.
And that should never exist.
Right. And this is what this bill is looking to change.
It's hard for me to process that it is existing now.
Next, I want to talk about, give another update on Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, hopefully soon to be Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Just the other day, Senator Susan Collins, a Republican from Maine, known as a moderate, publicly made a statement saying she will support the nomination. This does 2 things. One, it gives her bipartisan support in her nomination, which she has had when she was elected to the vice chair of the Sentencing Commission and to her current position right now in the D.C. court. And 2, it unfortunately takes away the opportunity for Vice President Harris, the first black woman vice president, to be the deciding vote on this. But that's okay.
You call it unfortunate.
That's
it
okay.
ain't unfortunate. I'm glad she's able to go through the process and get some bipartisan support because you never know what that crazy man going to do.
Right. So, I don't think Susan Collins is going to be the only Republican.
Yeah.
I think there's still a chance to get Senator Senator Mitt Romney on board.
Okay.
From Utah, the former governor of Massachusetts, and also Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska to get her on board as well, too. Next, I want to talk about a new program that's been introduced by the Biden administration and his HUD department, which is going to put $72 million into 25 projects through 25 communities throughout America, throughout the nation, for youth homelessness. So to try to bring down the youth homelessness throughout this nation. Now, I would encourage
Youth being what?
Youth being anyone under 21.
And they're not going to send nothing to Wilmington, though, I guess, because
Probably not.
We'll give it to one person and they'll just have a pretend make-believe something. Go ahead.
But I do hope that Delaware applies for it.
Delaware, okay.
And, we create a program here to really help with our young youth. We don't have a high number of youth homelessness, so it would be easier for us to take that money and try to eliminate it fully here in Delaware. And that's, the last point I'm going to talk about, and I know this is probably going to start a lot of discussion, is Senator Laura Sturgeon introduced a bill, SB 4, that requires the Department of Education to maintain and publish a list of evidence-based reading instruction curriculum for grades kindergarten to 3 to look at the science of reading, right? To try to change some of the outcomes that are going on in our schools and making sure people are able to read. Right now, if you look at it, Delaware's college readiness, we rank 18 in the nation. High school graduation rate, we rank 21st in the nation. Our math scores were 37th in the nation, and our reading scores were 26th in the nation. But we do have we're one of the highest, we're the top 10, we're number 10 in preschool enrollment. So something's being lost there that's not correlating throughout their entire career. So we want to make sure when they are in kindergarten, when they are in first, second, and third, that they're using evidence-based learning skills to make sure that our students are prepared for those next few years, those elementary and middle school years.
Yeah, and I certainly support that bill 100%, especially because of the community. I hate that they even got rid of the school that was in this community, which was one of the best schools in Christina School District. But I do support that, and I don't know where you are with that, because you're the real educated.
No, the fact of the matter is, I'm fine with that, but they need to get up off their behind and go right over here in these schools in the city now, especially in Christina, where they know full well that less than 10% of the kids are meeting the standards in reading and math, and they need to cut those classes in half. They need to provide those kids with year-round services, and I don't care if they got to do one-on-one instruction. They know how far they're behind, and they know what the end result is going to be. This has been going on for 6 years. And now you're wondering why, as I said 3 weeks ago on this show, you wonder why all hell's breaking loose in the high schools. It is not their fault. If you can't read and you can't do math, what else can you basically do in school but raise pure hell?
And what Councilman Street is not saying he support the raising of hell in schools. What he's saying is because the system has failed our young people, this is the result of it.
And then give me a football, give me a basketball, make me a star, okay, and give me the teachers that'll work with the coaches and make sure my grades are okay, and then when I graduate, I can go to hell.
And, you know, they've used this in states that have even lower reading scores than us. Some of those states like Mississippi, where now they're starting to see their scores trend upward. Now, they're still struggling overall as a state, but in the places they've implemented this, the scores have gone up. So if Delaware was to do this, it wouldn't be implemented until 2027 because they would have to work on a system that works for Delaware. But this could be a great equalizer in seeing some of the inequities we see in schools.
Okay, but how about the inequities we see in our state? Because you talked about 20% and 30th and all that. What's the percentage of Delaware students attending the University of Delaware?
Oh, gee.
What is the percentage of Delaware students attending Delaware State College? And until those numbers get fixed, and until we can fill our own colleges with our own children, the system is in dire need of ongoing change. And the fact that the General Assembly says idly by and does nothing, says nothing about the fact that there's more kids from other states coming to our colleges and universities than our own children, then I think they all need to just reconsider what we're doing as a state to provide funding for those institutions, one of which is supposed to be a land-grant institution.
Right, and
an HBCU that you have the unmitigated gall to put a sign up out on 95 that says the most diverse HBCU in the country. Why are you proud of that?
Okay.
Because you're closing out your own children in the state of Delaware?
I think what they're trying to say, Brother Street, is that they're the most diverse and that they
I don't want to
the
hear
academic
in
programming.
In 1974, when I entered the arena, Delaware State and the University of Delaware both were under a voluntary agreement to desegregate. Delaware State did what it was supposed to do. Look at the University of Delaware. How can you brag about being diverse when it wasn't taken care of on the other end?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And I want to pick that argument back up next week because I do got some comments that we want to say on this, but I want to just take this last 30 seconds to extend our condolences, as you all did a very good job last week while I was gone, to Dr. Terrence Newton, and brother better known as Newt, who was a faithful member here at Zion Fair. I want to thank you for doing such a great job with sharing his life. We did a special presentation for him as well. But I want to say that this week will be a very, very rough week for the children at Warner Elementary School, as well as for those of us who loved him dearly. We're praying for his wife, Paula, who I've been in immediate contact with so much all for the last couple of weeks, but she's a faithful member here, so we stay in contact with her. On Tuesday night at from 5 to 8 o'clock, there will be a viewing here, as well as a celebration. Our praise team will be singing. We will have the Monday Club and a couple others who will be doing some presentations. That's from 5 until 8 p.m. here at Zion Fair on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday at 8 a.m. until 11, there will be a full celebration of life service at the Chase Center. We hope and trust that you will be able to join. This young brother was very short in stature, but he was very mighty in how he impacted the young people that he did. He was genuine. He was real, and I appreciate what he did. He came from the rough edges of the world, and he made something of himself, and that's what we are so grateful for. Again, I want to thank everybody who watch us. I know this has been a very rough show today, but we'll be back next week. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
I guess I'm not pastor this week. Jay Street.
You did say that last week. See ya.
Take care, y'all.